Josh Finch?
Yes.
Yes?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, thank you. Just making sure.
Fine, how are you? Don't whisper the fast.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I just wish, regardless of face medicine, I just wish life had subtitles all the time.
Maybe you can work on that.
I wish.
Have masks with some
It
with,
just like comes across when you speak.
but then people have to get used not to saying stuff under their breath.
Dave, how are you? Did you have a surprise visitor Friday?
Well, I knew he was coming, but
That was nice.
yeah, he said he had needed to give you a call.
He what?
He said he needed to give you a call.
Uh-oh.
Never do
He
that.
was busy. All right, I think we're gonna get started here. We'll call the council members back to their respective positions.
I am not able to log on.
It's off.
Some
Oh, no.
technical
Don't ever go by that
difficulties.
call.
Yeah, we're Apple time. Oh.
Jeff has to climb up and fix it.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order tonight. Tonight, we're privileged to have Dr. Nate Bosch from Grace College, who's offered to do the invocation. So, Dr. Bosch? Did you know?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Let's pray. Dear Father, thank you so much for this amazing city. Thank you for your beautiful creation that this city gets to enjoy, especially the lakes, of course. We thank you for each of these individuals in this room and how they serve this community so faithfully and with all their different areas of expertise. Pray for them each to have good health during this difficult time. Pray for each of them to have good wisdom as they consider different topics before the city, and pray for our country too, for the election tomorrow. We pray that the election would go well and would go smoothly, and that the democratic process works as it should. And we pray, regardless of the outcomes, that we would all be respectful and continue to be good citizens in this great land. And so we thank you for being such a great God. Bless this meeting in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Dr. Bosch. I certainly appreciate that, and we'll be hearing from you in just a little bit. In the meantime, let's get started here tonight. Let the minutes reflect 6 council members are present, and Councilmember Josh Finch is calling in virtually, so all votes tonight will be roll call votes. So we'll start with the approval of the minutes from October 19th. Those were presented. Ask for your consideration.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as submitted.
All right, Diane, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Jack. All right. Roll call. Josh Finch, approval of the minutes.
Aye.
Jack Wilhite,
Aye.
Mike Clondaris,
I'll abstain since I wasn't here.
Diane Quantz,
Aye.
Jerry Frush, Cindy Dobbins,
Aye.
Jeff Gross.
Aye.
All right. Passed 6-0 with 1 abstention. All right, and again, we'll recognize our visitors tonight. Glad to have you here. I'm sure it'll be a busy night tonight and tomorrow, and a lot going on, so appreciate you spending some time with us. Let's jump into reports, oral and written communications. Just a reminder that on Thursday there will be, Wednesday, November 4th at 4:30, we'll have our organizational review by Baker Tilly, and that'll be right here in council chambers. Len, you've presented the Mediacom third quarter franchise fee, a whopping $274.93.
Hey, good news, it could be going up because they are expanding their services out there in that area.
Good. Well, thank you for that. And item number 3, I guess, is a repeat of number 1. It must be pretty important because Whitney put it on twice. So, all good. All right, so let's move into unfinished business. Tonight, we're going to consider on second and final reading with a public hearing ordinance 2020-1002, which is a stormwater utility rates and charges adjustment. So again, this will be our second reading, passed at the last meeting in October, 6-0 on first reading. Councilman Clondaris was absent and did not vote. Again, we'll hear from him in just a moment. I'm sure he'll be weighing in on it, as he was a member of the rate study committee that the council had 3 members, which was Cindy Dobbins, Jerry Frush, and Mike, are the ones that made the recommendation to the council for what we're considering tonight. So again, what we're looking at is a stepped increase over the next 5 years, increasing approximately just a little over $1 a month for residential users each year for the next 5 years. To improve operational and capital improvement budgets, to meet operational mandates of an MS4 community, to invest in local stormwater infrastructure, both planned and emergency, to eliminate dependence on other city department budgets, to leverage our CCD capital funds to meet the significant stormwater needs in the community, including erosion control, pollution control, flood mitigation, stormwater infrastructure maintenance, etc., and obviously to help us maintain and grow sufficient operational reserves. So again, the Common Council Rate Study Committee, Jerry Frush, Cindy Dobbins, and Mike Clondaris had met in the past with Baker Tilly to finalize their recommendation to the council for this hearing. So I'd ask Councilman Clondaris to weigh in on their discussion, and then we'll have a little bit more discussion before we open it up to the public. So, Michael.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, as you so well put it, we did meet several times. We did discuss pretty much all angles of this. We had a lot of input from the city engineer, from wastewater utility superintendent, as well as the stormwater superintendent. And we think we came up with a really a fair plan for everybody. We've kept in mind the cost to our fixed income citizens in the community. Phasing this in over a 5-year period gives everybody ample time to get used to it, to work it into their budgets, and more importantly, it's something we really need to do. We are mandated, being an MS4 city of 10,000 persons or more, we are federally mandated to mitigate our runoff. And I think we've come up with a pretty darn good plan. And I think in the end, when we're at the end, when the fee is going to be the highest, at the end of 5 years, we'll probably still be one of the lowest. So I want to thank everybody for all the work that they did. And I appreciated being away 2 weeks ago. I appreciated seeing a 6-0 vote. So thanks for all your confidence and your support.
All right. Ryan, are you ready to make a presentation or make a few comments before we open the meeting up? I know Dr. Bosch is here and I'm sure has a few things to say in support of this, so.
Yeah, I just have a few items to reiterate that we kind of covered in the first meeting. Again, Mayor Tolmer listed out the needs of the reasons of why we need to, or why we have a stormwater utility rate. We have our O&M, we have the federally mandated expectations that are requirements that we're supposed to do for the state, as well as the ever-increasing need for our capital projects. Those are our largest ones. So again, we have this in a setting where we have an initial change and then we have a 4-year small increments to get to where we need to be when we're self-sufficient for our operations and maintenance, which is huge, offsets costs for our 2 other departments, as well as gets us to have a larger impact for our community here. Aside from this, I really don't have any other additions to that.
Okay. I think you'd made a pretty good point at the last meeting that one of the big factors is that a lot of the other departments in the city are using their resources, both financial and their trucks and manpower, to kind of prop up the stormwater utility. And it's really important that the utility stand on its own. The other issue is looking at fund balances and what happens if we pursue these projects that are so desperately needed, a long list over the next 5 years. I know you all were given a list of projects and costs over the next 5 years, and I did a little bit of a spreadsheet, and if we don't do anything as far as raising our revenues, you know, we're down in the hole next year, and it just continues on to 2025, where we're just heading the wrong way. We're way into negative territory. Adjusting the rates gradually is going to put us to a point where we can afford to do these critical projects, have adequate reserves, be able to do emergency projects, which always seem to pop up. So it's just, you know, 2014, this rate was established at $2.95, and if you all are past this tonight, next year will be $3.86. 2022, it'll be $4.90, and this is the residential rate increase per month. So we'll go from $2.95 in 2020 to $3.86 per month per household, 2021, $4.90 per household in 2022, $5.93 per household per month in 2023, $6.97 per month per household in 2024, and then finally in 8 years, in 5 years, in 2025, it'll be $8 per household per month. And Mike, you said it well. I think we're well below the average rate right now at $2.95. I believe the average rate is somewhere in the high $5 per month. And my guess is in 5 years, by the time we hit $8, we'll probably be at about the average rate. And we'll hopefully be a whole lot better for it with a lot of the projects that we need to get done. With that, I know one of the important things is shoreline stabilizations and pollution control and all of the erosion and sediment runoff that get into our lakes. And we all know how important our lakes are to our local economy and recreation for this great community. It's what sets us apart. It's why people want to come and live in this community. And protecting those lakes has never been more important consideration as we look at what we're going to do with the stormwater utility. To that end, Dr. Bosch has offered to come and just give a few of his insights, things that he's seen over the last, probably since the stormwater utility was established back in 2014. So we've got about 5-6 years of proactive practices, and Dr. Bosch, I'll let you speak to that.
Great. All right, so I sent a letter here to you all dated September 30th, and I just wanted to highlight a few things from that letter. So it was a letter acknowledging the good efforts of the City of Warsaw's stormwater utility. I mentioned first we had the privilege of working with the City of Warsaw on stormwater projects all the way back to 2010, and so we've been working for 10 years already together on stormwater related projects, and then specifically with the utility here since 2014. What I've appreciated working with the stormwater utility especially is that the stormwater utility is interested, as we are at the Lilly Center, in science-driven solutions that help the city provide the best possible service to businesses and homeowners here in the City of Warsaw. And I cited one example or evidence of the stormwater utility's good work as being Center Lake. And that's part of the reason why I brought this booklet that we just produced, this annual report. I wanted to bring this along to show evidence of how Center Lake is doing. Center Lake, of the 3 lakes here in the City of Lakes, is the most influenced by the stormwater utility because it's the most urban of the 3 lakes, kind of right in the middle of Warsaw. Lots of stormwater inputs going into that lake, more so than Pike and Winona. And if you look on page 4 in that report, page 4 shows water clarity, which is one of our most basic measurements of lake health or the quality of the water. and you look there, the fourth lake in, CEN for Center Lake, you can see Center Lake had the clearest single measurement of any of the 14 lakes we sampled in the entire Kosciuszko County in 2020. And it had, if you look at the green bar, that's the average, and Center and Syracuse lakes were the two clearest lakes in the county. That's pretty amazing to have a lake right in the middle of a city be that clear, and I think that's a testament to the good work of the stormwater utility in working with us at the Lilly Center. We can look at oxygen, nutrient levels, all of these things are all pointing to Center Lake being in pretty good shape. So that's where we're at right now. I think when we look to the future, continued partnership with us and stormwater utility, I think we've got some great ideas for infrastructure, some great ideas for educational programs. I think we're moving in the right direction, and I've really enjoyed working with Ryan and his leadership at the stormwater utility. It's been really, really great. So I'll just end with my last sentence there in the letter. In summary, the City of Lakes is in good hands with the City of Warsaw Stormwater Utility, and the Lilly Center for Lakes and Streams is proud to partner with the stormwater utility to serve residents and businesses of the Warsaw area.
Thank you. Any questions of Dr. Bosch?
Yeah, I've got one. What are the, you picked out Center Lake and the water clarity being really good and everything. What are the goals? I mean, when do we know that we've got good enough, you know, to where we're not, you know, there's a point of diminishing return.
Exactly.
So how do we know when we get there?
Yeah, so I'd ask you to turn to the next page, page 6 and 7. So you look in the top left figure there, epilimnion, total phosphorus. I realize we've got a lot of terms here. So epilimnion is just the surface water, and total phosphorus. Phosphorus is the most important nutrient that causes weeds and algae to grow, which reduces the clarity of the water, okay? So the clarity of the water is the effect of us reducing nutrients that go into the lake. The nutrients are what's feeding algae toxins, any of these sort of bad things that we're looking for in some of our lakes. So you see that black bar there that's going across in that figure, and we need to get those colored bars below that black line. So you see CEN there, Center, again, the fourth one from the left. You can see Center Lake, like Big Chapman, like Syracuse Lake, like Lake Wawasee. They're all getting close to that black line, but they're not yet below it. Once we get these lakes below that black line, and that black line is set by the EPA for our ecoregion, and that's indicative of when our lakes are minimally impacted and then are allowed to be used for all of the different recreational things that lakes, we want them to be used for, fishing, swimming, and so on. So that black line is what our goal is.
Well, good, thank you. It looks like we got some work to do on Pike.
We do, we do, yes.
So Nate, is it an ongoing thing then to keep them below that level?
Yeah, so it's not just we get them to that level and then we all just stop working on. It'll be additional work to keep those at that level going forward, yes.
How many acres actually drain into Center Lake?
I don't have the number off the top of my head for Center.
There's 43 acres in the watershed for the Big Walnut watershed, so. But it directly comes into Pike Lake first, so.
Yeah, so Center Lake, of the 3 lakes here that are in Warsaw, has the smallest watershed of the 3. Center Lake also has a lot of these urban inputs, which is why I cited that one as an example of the stormwater utilities work. Pike and Winona Lake, on the other hand, have large agricultural areas that are outside of the city boundaries that drain into those lakes. So the watersheds are much bigger, so they're capturing those nutrients from a much broader area before they come into the lake. Yeah, Mike?
Which raises the issue in my mind, we are doing our part,
Yeah,
but the water coming into the lake, we have no control over. And the nutrients and the phosphates and the nitrogens coming in, the pollutants coming in, we have no control over. What can be done about that?
so.
Because you have Center Lake right next to Pike Lake, so you have
Yeah.
the cleanest lake right next door to the dirtiest.
It's a pretty stark contrast,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah, and that's why the Lilly Center for Lakes and Streams works at the county level. And so we're working with farmers, we're working with other partner organizations to help bring down those nutrient inputs for the farther reaching parts of the county as well, so that we can get all of those lakes below that black line.
So that's what the current federal grant that the Watershed Foundation recently was awarded is to work with those agricultural regions north coming into our watershed. That's why Pike Lake is number one on the radar as far as issues. And so as they're working with that, then we just received another grant from the state, a LAIR grant, to do a study in the area. So we've done an initial dredging study, and we've been able to identify areas in Pike Lake that need to be dredged, because once the nutrients come into the lake, there's no way that they disappear. They never go away. You have to dig them out. And so we have all of that in place. We have the money in the place to take care of that, but we're not going to do that project until we start controlling the runoff that's coming in, because it would be wasted money. So that's part of the projects that Ryan has been doing with stormwater utility. If you'll notice along the shoreline of Pike Lake, all of the plantings and things, the native plants that are there to help slow down some of the runoff that's coming directly from the city. So like starting about, what would you say, Main Street, maybe even Center Street coming down, it's all running into Pike Lake. So all of the fertilizer, the oil, the gas, the, whatever, leaves that are put into the road instead of kept up on the yard. So like I drove down my street tonight, everybody's raked their leaves right into the road. So they're right in line with the storm water sewer. So all the nutrients from those leaves are gonna go directly into the lake until they're picked up by the city. So that's one of the reasons the city does ask that you keep the leaves up in your yard. But so those are the kinds of things, and it's an incremental step that it'll take a while to accomplish. And you might want to add to that.
Yeah, we also work with federal programs. We have the Natural Resource Conservation Service, which is a USDA group that's right here in Kosciuszko County. They have a lot of different federal programs, mostly paid for through the U.S. Farm Bill. And those encourage, through financial incentives, many local agricultural producers to do different practices on their farms that limit the amount of nutrients coming off of their farm and then into one of our streams and then subsequently into one of our lakes. We're also working, we have a new agricultural degree program at Grace College, and so we're launching a certification program for farmers as well, where farmers around these lakes can do certain practices and therefore get certified as lake-friendly farmers and get some recognition and hopefully put some positive peer pressure on some of their farming neighbors as well. So we're coming at it from a bunch of different angles to try to reduce the nutrients.
I want to interrupt for just a second. We're going to have a public hearing here in a moment, and with our Boxcast streaming the meeting tonight, we're going to invite our guests that are streaming and watching it that way. If they have comments during the public hearing, I've got a phone number that we will take text messages only. We're not going to answer phone calls, but I've got a phone number here. It's 574-377-0287. We ask that you text your name and address, and then if you have comments to be heard during the public hearing, we'll take those, and I want to give people a little bit of a chance to get that done before we get started. So hence the interruption. It's 377-0287, and we'll take those comments and read those aloud here at the meeting. until the public hearing is ended. And we'll spend at least 10, whatever time we need, but even if we short a little bit, we'll stay on for probably an extra 5 minutes to make sure we're taking all the calls. But again, please give your name, your full name and your address, and then your comments with regards to the stormwater rate adjustment. That's what we're discussing tonight. So if the comments aren't germane to the topic, we probably won't read them. But again, any comments that you have either for or against the rate hike, it's 377-0287, and that'll probably start here in the next 5 minutes. So, all right, Nate, back to you.
Mayor,
Yes.
is that area code 574?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Anything else, Nate? Any other? I know public education is a big part of stormwater, and from day one, Lilly Center has provided us with the educational resources we need, both in the schools and out in the community, to make folks aware of what's going on with regards to all the erosion controls and the pollution controls. And you all have done a marvelous job, and you're as much of a partner here as anyone, and we certainly appreciate that. But that's another huge part of this that we are mandated to do by the federal government as an MS4 community. So,
Dr. Bosch, you might also just comment, part of MS4 is trying to help control or reduce flooding and some of the projects that have been done in relationship to flooding with your LAIR grant.
Yeah, so we worked on a large project on the Tippecanoe River, where we know that's the sort of main drain, if you will, of the city of Warsaw and many of our lakes in this county. And we found over 300 log jams along the 30-mile section of the Tippecanoe River. And we got a lot of funds from the DNR and then matched those with some local funds from here. And we're able to, many of those log jams, over 100 of them needed to be removed with heavy equipment because they were so large. And then we also had a volunteer group, Paddlers for Conservation. They actually started a new 501c3 as a result of having so much fun helping with that project, which was really fun. And so all together with the volunteers and the contractors, over 300 log jams removed. And we've heard from several of the lakes, Winona, Center Pike, and Tippecanoe off the top of my head, that they've seen definite differences in less flooding on those lakes than before we had that huge project. And we've done some other smaller projects in some smaller streams similar to that, removing some unnatural log jams. So yeah, that's been a big part. Yeah.
great. Again, before we get started, I just wanted to read through some of the projects that have been done, some of the projects that are in process, some of the projects that will be studied, and some of the future projects that we're looking at over the next 5 years. I'm not going to get real detailed, other than I want folks to know what districts these are in and what areas we're looking at. So District 1, these are completed projects. The Pike Lake Stabilization Project, the Pike Lake Stabilization Project 2, Fire Farm Trail Greenway. Those are all completed projects in District 1. District 2, the East Market Storm Pipe has been studied. District 3, Eisenhower Basin Phase 1, Eisenhower Basin Phase 2, Tigers Retreat Basin Outfall. District 4, Logan Drainage Management, Osborne Pump Station Improvements. District 5, Sunset Storm Pipe, Sunset North Storm Pipe. And then another project in 3 is the Eagle Storm Inlet. To date, there's been $1.4 million spent on those projects that I just mentioned. Now, these are projects that have been identified, and I'll just mention those. These have not been completed, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if some of them have been started or studied. But District 5, Pike Lake Stabilization Project 3A, Pike Lake Bank Stabilization Project 3B, Pike Lake Stabilization Project 3B South, and then in That's District 5 and District 1, Pike Lake Stabilization Project 4, Pike Lake Stabilization Project 5, Warsaw PD BioTrack, Kelly Pond Remediation is in District 3. There is looks like an abandonment that I don't understand, but it's a project in 2 that's an abandonment of an outfall. Center Lake Flood Protection in District 4, Argonne-Winona Stormwater Feature in 2, Durbin Drainage Management in 2, Hodges Addition Storm System in District 1, Market Johnson Flood Management in 2, Lydia Drainage Management in 1, Harrison Storm Pipe in 2, West Market Storm Pipe in 4, Winona Park Storm Pipe in 2, Center Lake Storm Pipe Phase 1 in 4, Center Lake Storm Pipe Phase 2 and 4, Indiana Storm Pipe in District 4, and then Ross Road Storm Outfall in 5, and Ross Road Storm Inlet in 5. And that's anywhere from $6.5 to $12.5 million worth of projects, and hence the need to move forward with consideration of adjusting that rate tonight. So that just gives you an idea that these projects are being done all over the city, and there's no shortage of projects. Anything, Ryan, to mention on that? I think that the list kind of speaks for itself, but any comments? If you want to come up to the mic, please, that way everybody can hear.
I will add to that study that we have completed close to around $800,000 worth of that within the past year. When it comes to a few stabilization projects or quality projects, and a few storm lining or cleaning or repair for our stormwater quality projects or quantity projects. And then also, we always have those unforeseens that Mayor Tom already alluded to earlier today. And then also you have your O&M costs, but project-wise, these continue to go. And some of these that I have listed here, we don't even have an estimate for, or we have a rough estimate. Before I came on, there was a large south side study for the drainage, and that all is accumulating to finishing Killick Park Pond. Because just like how Diane Quan's mentioned, how we're not going to address Pike Lake until we address Deeds Creek or whatever drainage we're getting agriculturally, that's the same thing we had to do in our own jurisdiction here. And so there's a lot of other areas that we do need to do a large scale study, or at least look at and see what can we improve our water quality here to continue to sustain our city of lakes. But these costs will just ever increase. And so to continue to address these, we need to keep up with them instead of lagging behind. So
I wanted to point out that Ryan collected all of these projects in one document, the maturing infrastructure that you all saw probably about a year ago.
Late 2018. So
yeah, it was a little bit more than a year ago. So, so that's marvelous work, and obviously the list continues to grow. Another important part of that document was just listing our partners. So our local City of Warsaw Parks and Rec, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, Paddlers for Conservation, Lilly Center for Lakes and Streams, and the Watershed Foundation shouldn't be left out of the discussion as well. Because just like any public-private partnership we do on an infrastructure project or a housing project or a building project, it's the same thing with the stormwater. We need partners to leverage our funds and knowledge, and that collaboration is what gets these things done and what's gotten us to this point. So, okay, again, the number to call in, we're going to open the public hearing in just a moment here, is 574-377-0287. So again, if you have support of this project, of the rate change, comments on that, or if you are against, please don't hesitate to text in. We will not take phone calls, we will just take texts. And we'll start in just a moment. Dr. Bosch, thank you, sure appreciate it. So I'm going to put it back to the council now, before we open it to the public, just to see if there are any other questions of Ryan with regards to what's being proposed here tonight, or any other general comments. Cindy.
Just one general comment from the committee, I don't think that we did bring up, is the fact that we looked at several different rate structures. We did not just take the first one that popped up, and obviously there were some that were higher than what we finally ended up with, but we tried to be conscientious in coming up with a rate that we felt was livable and could be spread out over a period of time. So I would want people to know that we didn't just jump at the first and the highest figure that was thrown out, but there was a great deal of consideration given to all the figures that we looked at.
Thank you, Cindy, and I would attest to that, having sat through those meetings. It was a good way to go about it, and I appreciate all the work and time you all spent to get to this point, to make this presentation and to propose this tiered, 5-year tiered rate structure increase. Again, 574-377-0287.
Call now. Or, no, text now.
Yeah, text now. So, yes, sir.
I want to add one more thing too. I think that last paragraph, this section 78-610, I think that was really thought to include as well, that there will, going forward, be constantly reevaluating what the rate should be, that there'll be an ongoing financing plan and an ongoing assessment of capital needs from the rate consultants and engineers, so that it's good to plan for the future projects and to work together on the financing, the capital needs, and the engineering with a long-term plan. I think that's really thoughtful.
All right. All right, so we will now open the public hearing portion of the rate hearing. And as a reminder, this passed 6-0 at the preliminary, or the initial hearing. And we're now considering, with the public hearing, any comments with regards to the utility increase for the stormwater utility. Excuse me. So I will now open the meeting, both live here in person and, of course, online streaming for comments. And again, we'll probably have a little dead air time here. We're going to probably wait to see if we get any calls, and then we'll wait a little bit longer, and just to make sure everybody has the opportunity. Again, 574-377-0287. So is there anyone here who wishes to speak on behalf in support of the rate utility adjustment? Jack, you want to come to the podium, please? Thank you.
One thing that I think has been overlooked is the responsible way in which everyone is taking care of the taxes. Just having paid my property taxes today, that was right there in front of me. But my assessed value on my property that I moved into 18 years ago is now more than 50% higher than it was when I bought it. But I'm paying $400 a year less in property taxes than it was the year I bought it. So at $1 a month, I just have no complaints, but I just think the responsible way in which the council has handled the budget and all the projects that have been accomplished over the last 18 years, and I'm still paying $400 a year less in taxes. So I have no complaints. I know this is an ongoing, very important project. Just wanted to speak in favor of it.
Great, thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak on behalf of the petition, on behalf of the rate increase, in support of the rate increase, the rate adjustment? All right, hearing none. Is there anyone that wishes to speak in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the rate adjustment? Okay, I'm going to go about 4 more minutes, and we'll allow, I have not had a message in yet. Anyone listening, I know there's a little bit of a delay as well, so we got a 30-second delay anyway we've got to respect. But we'll go about another 4 or 5 minutes. If you want to text in your comments, 574-377-0287. So we'll start now, and we'll go about 4 more minutes. And if you all want to take a quick recess, that's fine. And then I will read any that we get here at, just be back when the big hand gets on the 8. Holding a public hearing in times like this has been certainly somewhat of a challenge. Knowing that the governor has extended the emergency order, we're certainly continue to allow the virtual meetings. And this is one of the tricks to a virtual meeting, is holding a public hearing where you have discourse from the public. And I know we talked with Luke Britt several times about the best way to have a public hearing. And I will add, tonight, we're obviously live. The meeting is open to the public. I set up 15 chairs, tried to space them, so we certainly would accommodate anybody that responded to our public notice that the meeting was live. But in addition, knowing the times we're in right now, knowing that we've got the ability to stream, I think it's just a good practice to allow those that are viewing from afar to weigh in during a public hearing. I don't think we can go too far with that. So.
What's that number again, Mayor?
574-377-0287.
Should we do a mini telethon, try to raise some money for the city, other than rates?
No, I really don't want to make light of this. So we'll wait to see if we get any. And I did test this phone this morning with that number, and it works. So I know that we're okay. David, any jokes from the governor or anything?
Let's see, what did we talk about before we got on record?
Yeah.
No, he was just doing his campaigning, he went from place to place, and I think the time he was doing some stuff in this county.
Yeah.
So he went to Elkhart and.
Yeah, he was in Kokomo, and he talked about some improvements on US 31.
Yeah, there was some more discussion, I didn't get into the story, but sooner or later I'm gonna cut myself off.
Yeah.
But yeah, he mentioned 30 and 31 and
Good.
some other things. But he did say he needs to call you, so I don't know what about.
And that number is?
574-377-0287. We'll go about 1 more minute. I do not have any comments. And the lines have been open for about 15 minutes here, so just for the record. So I think I will close the public hearing. However, we'll wait another 30 seconds as there is a delay on the Boxcast. And if I get any messages in the next 30 seconds, we'll go ahead and read them, but so far I have none. And I did test this phone this morning, this number, and it worked, so appreciate your patience. Okay, I think we'll move this back to the council for your consideration. If there are any further questions, certainly entertain them now, and leave it up to you for this second reading.
If there are no further questions, I, not having been here last week, didn't get to vote on it. Being on the committee, chairing that committee, I would like to be the one to make a motion to pass the stormwater utility ordinance.
I'd second that.
Motion's been made by Mike Londera, second by Jerry Frush. Any further comments, final questions? All right, we'll take a roll call vote Josh Finch?
Aye.
All right, Jeff Gross?
Aye.
Cindy Dobbins?
Aye.
Jerry Frush?
Aye.
Diane Quantz?
Aye.
Mike Londeris?
Yes.
Jack Wilhite?
Aye.
All right, the motion passes. Ordinance 2020-1002 passes 7-0 on second and final reading. Thank you. And Ryan, thank you for all your work. You've spent a lot of time building up to this point. You've provided some great education to all of us. Your last reference was good, but the brochure that we talked about that listed all the projects in the different areas in the community was really helpful, and it was done very well. So thank you very much. So,
And I enjoyed working with him. I picked up the phone several times and we'd talk, and he was always available and informative and helpful. So thank you very much.
And
All right.
thanks, Brian Davison, for your oversight,
As was
too.
James Emmons and
Yeah.
Brian Davidson.
so these rates are scheduled to take effect at the first of the year. And we'll probably have more to come on that, but it shows that they are effective January 1, 2021. So I know there's a little delay in the billing cycle. It'll probably just go on that first January bill. I guess we're not talking wastewater, so there's nothing in the way of water.
We can talk with Rebecca about it tomorrow,
Yeah.
just to make sure.
We'll announce how that's gonna work, but it should be on the bills in January. And that first residential rate will be $3.86. All right, let's jump into new business. We've got a resolution here, line 2 cuts from Warsaw Wayne Township Fire Territory. It's an additional $253,095. This is a reduction in spending for 2020. I asked Chief to sit down with his battalion chiefs and assistant chief and look at this year's budget and try and give back what he could to keep our reserves as good a shape as we can. He's answered with $253,095. I believe the first line 2, wasn't it $315,000, Lynn?
Yes,
So he's given over $500,000 in line 2 cuts for 2020 with this additional $253,095 tonight. So just asked this resolution to accept those cuts. Any questions?
I move to approve 2020-11-01.
I'll second that.
Motion by Jerry, second by Cindy. Any further questions? All right, roll call vote. Josh Finch?
Aye.
Jeff Gross?
Aye.
Cindy Dobbins?
Aye.
Jerry Frush?
Aye.
Diane Quantz?
Aye.
Mike Londeris?
Aye.
Jack Wilhite?
Aye.
Thank you. Passed 7-0. All right. And the final item tonight is a presentation, basically just information that's being presented to you with regards to non-for-profits. I know Cindy and her committee, I think Jeff's on that committee, and Jerry have worked. I think you all remember you guys decided a few years ago to try and change the process and did a great job last year, and hopefully it's made it a little easier this year. But I know it's always difficult because there's a lot of non-for-profits are hurting, and I know we're trying to accommodate those that we can, but it's a tough task. And Cindy, I appreciate what you've done here in your committee, so I'll give you the floor.
Okay, just information-wise for the council, some of the things that we looked at primarily were the number of people that were impacted by the organization, in particular the number of Warsaw citizens that were impacted. And we also looked at a few of the organizations that had an economic impact on some of our city businesses and so forth. So we tried really hard also to determine if they had other funding sources available, and in a couple of situations where we didn't fund things in total, it was because we felt that they had some other options perhaps available to them. But again, as the mayor said, this year was a very difficult year for a lot of organizations. So we tried to be really sensitive to that in what we funded. And as you can see, the proposal for 2021 actually comes way under the 1.5%. But it should be noted that a couple of the requests did move to contract, the Animal Welfare League and also the Warsaw Housing Authority. There was not a request from Howe this year. So at any rate, those are the figures that we came up with. And if anybody has any questions or would like for us to elaborate on those anymore, we did leave in $15,000 for special projects. If we don't use that, of course, that would probably end up as a cut at the end of the year. But we also felt pretty strongly that with everything that's been going on of late, we wanted to have that ability if we needed to step in and offer some mini grants or fund, something in particular, that we did have that capability. So if anyone has any questions, we'd be glad to answer those.
On some of these amounts that you reduced from the ask, was that a result of finding out exactly, like having them specify a project like we talked about, and then funding a specific?
Yes, in particular, well, like taking one, the shelter for abuse. There were several things itemized in the request. The thing that we felt most comfortable funding was the emergency, the 24-hour emergency phone line, because we felt that that was something that any of our citizens might access. They might never go stay at the Beeman home, but that phone line is there for them to call if they need it. And I think, I was trying to think of one of the others. Joe's Kids, that was kind of a new one for us, and we're kind of feeling our way along with that a little bit. We didn't really feel comfortable funding the whole amount. Kosciuszko Home Care and Hospice, they had requested funds for replacement of some of their equipment, computer, so forth, because they say they're having trouble getting information to people or to offices as needed. But they also did mention that they had some other sources that perhaps they hadn't tapped into. So we felt comfortable funding at least a portion of that. Baker Youth Club, that was a new one this year, and we felt pretty comfortable with that because of what they are trying to do with after-school care as well as helping kids with their homework. We know that not every child has access to the internet and so forth, and I think they're reaching out and trying to make the effort to help these kids with their homework. So that was a new request for us. And again, I think we want to make it clear to people too that just because we approved this year does not necessarily mean that we will do funding every year.
Thank you.
And just as a reminder, Animal Welfare League switched the way they bill the city. They're now billing us per encounter, if you will. So, that flat contracted amount was not valid, and we felt this was probably a fair way to do it anyway. So that's why that's been moved.
I think one of the interesting projects was the Warsaw Little League this year, and they are working to develop a field that can be utilized by folks with disabilities, and it is one of the few really that will be in the Midwest. I actually got a chance to talk to somebody that works with a national organization, and they're just really, really excited because it's an opportunity that's not available anywhere else. I think Michigan may be the next closest one, so we thought that was a pretty neat project.
So we don't need to take any action on this. This is the same as any of the other budget items. As we move through the finalization of the budget and get it notified with the 1782 notice of our disposition, and, you know, we still have several days after that to react, and if you want to make cuts, if we need to make cuts. I will tell you, I have worked with several departments soliciting cuts after having looked at the budget. We're a little bit underfunded on the budget, so I'm asking for cuts from several departments, and we're in the process of that, and you will be seeing those, but I want those to be ready. I think we have a really fortunate opportunity here that it doesn't look like we're going to have any increase in our health insurance this year. So that's going to, you know, we've got 15% in the budget right now, 15% increase from last year's rates, and the AIM Medical Trust health insurance employee benefit is paying off again very well. They've had a good year, and our rates were actually up about 4%, but they're going to offer a premium holiday for 1 month, and the net of not having to pay a premium for 1 month will actually reduce what we pay in premium. We'll actually be paying slightly less than we paid last year. So that will be finalized, I think, the 4th day of December, and we'll be able to officially, that'll be a pretty significant line 1 cut that will help with the budget as well. So again, a line 1 cut is a decrease in the budget for next year, and now knowing what our rates are going to be, again, we're obviously able to react to that. But we're looking at other cuts in the budget, and the department heads have been very cooperative and understand the importance of this. We're certainly looking at probably not 2021, but 2022 being the year that, what we're hearing, that would be the year that the local option income tax could impact us. And I don't know that people are making projections that are blanket. It seems like it's going to be a pretty uneven potential reduction. It's just not going to be an across-the-board certain amount. I think if you remember from our comprehensive financial plan, Baker Tilly had us reduce our revenues in 2021 and 2022 by lit revenues, the local option income tax, by 10% in anticipation of that. It could be less, it could be more. So I'm asking our department heads to understand that we don't want to spend what we don't have. And that's certainly the approach this year, is to get that spending down. Don't dive into those reserves. Let's just spend what we get and not anymore, especially in times like this. So, well, all the time. We don't want to spend more than we get. But, you know, the way the budgets work, sometimes, you know, you have built a reserve in anticipation of a project, so some years you do potentially spend more, but for the most part, from an operational standpoint, keeping our budgets within our spending. So, all right. So any more comments on the not-for-profits? Again, those are, certainly if you have any questions of Cindy and her group, those can be adjusted if you feel the need to do that.
So, Mayor, we just need to know when the final figures are actually going to be, if you want to bring those back for the next meeting, so we can get those to the city attorney for the contracts for the first part of works meeting in December.
So I would think it makes sense in these times of uncertainty that we try to approve the contracts at the Board of Works on December the 4th. So if something should happen, we could get them approved at the last meeting of the year for the Board of Works on December the 18th. So target the December 4th date to approve the not-for-profit contracts. I think that would be good.
The first council meeting in December is the 7th, so.
So you've approved the budget up to 1.5% of the general fund, which is $209,687. You're proposing $144,980. And I think the point that the city attorney and clerk treasurer are making is that we now at the Board of Works have to write specific contracts for these specific amounts. So if you all have any hesitation or feel like you want to have further discussion on that, my suggestion would be, we've got another meeting between now and that December first Board of Works meeting. If you all, if your committee or anyone else feels like these non-for-profit amounts need to be changed, I think we need to do that probably at the next meeting. So I will just, maybe you can put that on the agenda and we'll revisit it at our next meeting. And if everybody's okay, then we can proceed with the Board of Works contracts. Thank you, Lynn. Appreciate that. Okay, other matters that may come before the council. By all means, vote tomorrow. I assume it goes without saying.
If you haven't already.
If you haven't already. And I appreciate the fact that hopefully everyone will vote and we will get through this. Very important time and important that we all participate. Had a discussion with some 4th, 5th, and 6th graders that talked to them about voting, and they had a very, very interesting perspective on this whole thing. And I'll leave it at that. But
Do they have any good ideas?
oh, they were full of questions. Let's put it that way, which I think we all are. But again, I appreciate that, and those of you that are helping with the polling and as precinct committee folks. It's always important to do. And we'll see you later this, in a couple weeks. Anybody else?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
All right. I think we got it. All right, thank you very much. Okay.
My daughter tonight said,
Thanks for your comments.
Thanks, Jack.